First thing I got to say is about my last name. Yeah, everybody gets that wrong. It's perfectly fine. So for you, Zendarski, and anybody watching, it's Teti.
Teti. So like a
Falco Teti,
potato.
yeah.
Like being...
Italians are weird, you know?
I like it. So now you just got to be like a redneck talking about potatoes. Like, I want some taties.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just something like that.
That's great, dude. Well, I appreciate you clearing that up. That was definitely going to be one of the very first things I asked you. I got to say, like, as far as names go, you probably got the best name out of anybody that's ever been on the podcast. Like Falco Teti. That hits. That hits. What went into the name Falco, man? You don't hear that very much. Is that just an Italian name, a common name for them, or what's up with it?
I don't know about common for them, but yeah, it's an Italian name. It's a family name. I named after my grandfather. So, it just kind of carried, and I've always liked it just for that reason of being unique. It was never something anybody's ever heard. You never forget it,
It is, dude. It's definitely hard to forget. Like I said, I liked when we put, the matchup poster together, got your picture on it, got the name on it. Like it just pops. It's a unique name that I think people will remember. And I'll say, people already responding to that fight announcement. There's some hype behind this fight, and there's some people like a little bit of trash talk happening, man. Are you surprised by this?
I seen that. I seen some of the trash talk. I mean, I didn't really see anything towards me or nothing. It kind of seemed like it was more towards Deven, which I'm not too big into trash talk. I kind of wish they'd put more respect on my opponent's name, I'm not really that kind of guy. I mean, we're here to fight, I mean, there's always the entertainment aspect behind these things, but I'm here to showcase what I can do rather than just talk. And I've got nothing against Deven. He seems like a pretty chill guy from what I've gathered. So, it really is going to be a good time.
Nice, man. Well, we're certainly expecting a good fight. And for people, regular podcast listeners or even people who follow the Pittsburgh MMA scene super strongly, you're going to be a new name for them. This is your debut. This is your MMA debut.
Right.
Kind of came out of nowhere with Absolute Martial Arts and the crew there. How long have you been training? Like, what's your background, just for people getting up to speed?
Let's see. Well, it's kind of been like choppy a bit. So I actually started doing MMA back in 2018, and I was a lot younger back then. But then I stopped for a couple years, and I came back just last year and been off and on training for months. So, but for the past of 2022, I came back. I've been training pretty much almost every day I can. And I got the interest of wanting to fight when I actually went to Brawl in the Burgh 11. And my boy Andrew Evans fought Paul Dotson. And just watching that, I kind of got the kind of lit something in there that make me want to really jump in. I told them all, I said, I'm next. I want to be next.
Nice. Well, we're definitely glad that the show could inspire you to get in there, man. That's definitely not an uncommon experience, I think, for guys. I always tell people, like, you can watch MMA on TV and be a huge MMA fan, but until you experience a show, and I think especially a local show, because you've got a lot of friends, family members in the crowd, like it's a particularly invested crowd. And the atmosphere at these shows is just amazing. So I'm glad you had a similar experience with it and wanted to get in there. I mean, what were your impressions of that show? Because that was a really good show. Kama Worthy headlining. That was a big crowd. That was a pretty hype event.
It really, that's definitely the word for it, was hype. I ended up getting like an intermediate seat, and I was right next to the walkway and the stage. I kind of got that up front. I got to see everything, and just the atmosphere. All the people reacting to the knockouts, the fights themselves. I've always wanted to go to an MMA event as it was, whether it was UFC or even just local. So, kind of scratched off a bucket list item there. And I was so excited to be there and just watch it go down. And it felt like such a awesome place to be at the moment. I wouldn't rather be doing anything else that day.
Nice. Well, we definitely appreciate that. And, it's going to be a little different experience for you on October 1st, but hopefully one that you find just as memorable and everything. So That's great, man. I'm glad we could be a part of that. Like you mentioned, always wanting to get to a UFC event. Have you been a fan of the sport for a long time? Like, when did you first get interested in MMA in general?
Oh, geez. I'd have to say 2017. I think the first ever event I ever watched was GSP in Bisping.
Okay.
and that just kind of like set it off. Yeah, GSP's been my favorite fighter for the longest time now, and he's always been an inspiration with that. And I've always kind of liked martial arts. I did karate for years before, and once I saw what MMA was when I first discovered it, I immediately lost interest in that, and I wanted to jump into, the physical contact, the actual hitting part of it.
Right, right. I think
So
that makes sense.
yeah,
That's definitely a path that a lot of people travel. And like that GSP Bisping fight, I was actually there back in my days when I was covering the sport as a journalist. So that's an event that I covered, man. I was definitely blessed to be there. That one of the best shows of all time.
absolutely. It was just so hyped to watch it happen, watch him get that belt.
I honestly, this is one of the worst picks in retrospect, but I remember thinking that Bisping was going to absolutely destroy him in that fight for whatever reason. Like it should have been obvious, but I just felt like Bisping had the momentum at the time. Like GSP coming off a layoff was going to be rusty, up a weight class, but GSP just proved why he's one of the GOATs.
Exactly. It's a whole new division for him. It was against the champ of all people, and he came in and made it look like it was nothing, so
Yeah. Dominated him on the feet, choked him unconscious. Like that's as good as it gets.
Really is. And that's such a big part of the sport I like to do is the diversity of what you can do. It's punching, kicking, wrestling. There's so many ways to win, so many ways to lose. You really can't predict those kind of things.
That's true. And for you being a debut, nobody's ever seen you fight before, obviously, because you haven't fought yet. So how would
Right.
you describe your style? Like what can people expect on October 1st?
Obviously, I kind of have the advantage of not having anybody know about me, so I won't say too much. I'd have to kind of say anyways, like a jack of all trades. I don't necessarily kind of shine in any area. I never really did, but what's good about that is I'm constantly improving in each aspect. So, I'm getting the chance to showcase that. You'll get to see, me be hopefully decent in pretty much every aspect of the game.
That's awesome. I mean, you come from a great team, like you said. We've enjoyed working with them. We had Andrew fight for us back at BitB13. What's the atmosphere like at that gym? Because I would say, Absolute is still one of the up and coming gyms for sure. It's not one of these long time established ones that's been producing fighters like the Academy or the Mat Factory or something like that.
Right. Yeah, we're a bit smaller, but we're pretty much close knit. Everybody knows each other. Everybody, we laugh, we actually have fun, and we all train. It's nothing. I don't walk in there and I feel, scared or embarrassed to do something. I walk in and it's the most comfortable position, and everybody kind of knows other contacts too. We train with the Mat Factory from time to time. We have other people we get to, train with. So I have a lot of connections to be able to go out and do, practice every part of the game that I need to.
That's awesome, man. Did you meet Andrew at the gym or did you guys go back before that?
I did meet him there, and we pretty much hit it off right away because that we both had the same interest, the same outlook on this sport. Everybody there obviously does, but yeah, no, me and him have been good friends for not too long, but it's a pretty damn good friendship. He's been one of the biggest supporters I've had.
That's awesome, man. I think, it's hard to obviously watch a friend fight, and especially, that fight didn't go Andrew's way. What was that? He was smiling like he was like in the best mood ever for somebody who just lost a fight though. Fun fact. Like I remember backstage, he was just like, I can't wait to do that again. I was like, dude, good for you, handling the
Right.
loss like this. But what was the experience like for you, being a close friend? I'm sure it was nerve-wracking for you as well, just watching, right?
It was, it was obviously I wasn't too happy with it, but like I said, that really did, kind of light something in me to make me want to, get just as hyped and then jump in myself. Andrew, he pretty much took it like a champ, and he still does. He still, puts the effort in, trains harder, shut up his wrestling, Everything about him's improved since then, and he's definitely looking forward to coming back too, whenever that'll be. But right now, like I said, it's my turn now, so we're here to jump in, see what I can do.
Nice. I think Andrew also weighed in at like 180. He for a 185 for a middleweight fight. So I think he kind of learned, he should probably be at 170 moving forward. So that's important.
Right.
How much emphasis are you putting on your weight cut? Being the first time you do it, I can imagine making weight is, that's the first fight.
Right. And honestly, it's not because I walk around between 175 and 180. That's just kind of my natural weight setting. And I did that on purpose because I don't want to drop 30 pounds and, go down weekend in that weekend state. I'm currently walking around between 170, 175. So,
That's perfect.
it's just comfort. I'm just used to where I'm at right now.
That's awesome. I think if you listen to Deven's podcast, he said he's walking at like 169 right now. So he's literally already on weight. So you guys will be on a level playing field on that front, which is good. And I think a lot of people put too much emphasis on cutting weight sometimes. A lot of the science nowadays kind of suggests that you should fight closer to your walking around weight, and the weight cut does more harm than good. So it sounds like you guys are making the right decision there.
Right. Yeah. Definitely for my first fight, I don't want to, want to come in and really try to actually fight and not have to worry about, passing out after stepping on the scale or something. All the challenges that they face when they weight cut. I just want to focus on my first event, standing across from my opponent and just doing what I got to do.
Yeah. I mean, that's really, like you said, the fight before the fight kind of thing. Make weight, get in there, fight. I'm going to pull up the fight poster for people who are interested in the matchup and some of the event details. It is October 1st at the Monroeville Convention Center. Falco is going to take on Deven Zendarski, who was on the podcast last week. So if you missed that one and want to get, both sides of this matchup, go listen to that one as well. So Falco, I know you said like you don't want to give away too much, which I totally respect. But at the end of the day, like I do want to know a little more about your style if I can. Like, are you more of a stand-up fighter? Let me frame it this way. Let me back it up and just frame it this way. Did you watch Deven's debut fight with us back in July?
I've seen the footage. The second I got the fight announcement, coach immediately sent me the fight video. I saw that, and I saw the things he was saying about, he's working on his wrestling. He plans on having me up in the air a bit. He's got the fireball for hands, so I'm definitely keeping that in mind. Obviously, when it comes to doing this, I guess to put a little more description on kind of what I do, I like to stand up. Obviously, I like to stand and bang a bit. I was told by my coach that I have extremely good reflexes for my jiu-jitsu, so on the ground, I think I move pretty smoothly. I'm not like, I don't really panic or anything. So that's what I mean by the jack of all trades there. I'm kind of, comfortable with each setting. So expect me to try to keep it standing though, if I can, because that's always a fun thing to do.
That's huge, and that's definitely what I was getting at, and I'm glad you said that because Deven in his debut fight, definitely wanted to throw hands and just completely lost the grappling exchanges against Zach Snyder, who trains at, Stout, one of the best gyms here in Pittsburgh as well. So he lost that fight, but you could tell that he had heat in his hands and was eager to, stand and trade with somebody. So I thought, like, when we booked this fight, I was like, man, if Falco is like willing to stand and trade, this is going to turn into an instant fight of the night. Like this to me could very well turn into the fight of the night, which is super exciting.
Hey, if I can get that honestly to happen, I'm here to entertain if I can. On top of fighting, entertainment just comes along with that. So if he wants to stand and bang, we'll definitely stand and bang. I told you, I got nothing but respect for the dude. There's no bad blood, and I'm honestly really excited to have to be able to do this with him. So, he really does throw some heat. Like I said, the fireball. But fireball is one of my favorite drinks, so I'm excited.
Nice. There we go. Hey, maybe after the fight, you guys can share a fireball shot. We'll make it happen.
You know what? Damn right. I'd be down for that. Absolutely.
Hey, I like to know a little more about all of our fighters. It's always nice whenever we get a debut fighter, not just for you to get in there to fight, but I genuinely like meeting you guys at the events and getting to talk to you on the podcast and stuff like that. Like, if you didn't have MMA, what do you think you'd be doing? Like, what are some more of your hobbies and interests?
Well, right now, with everything going on, the training, I've had a lot going on in my personal life too. I'm finally getting back into school. I was going to school, be an airplane mechanic at the Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics.
Nice.
I was already there for a year. I left just some issues, but now I'm starting back, October 6th, literally 5 days after the fight. So I'm kind of focusing on the education on top of the training. My days are always constantly filled. But yeah, just the hands-on trade stuff, that's been an interest. I've always had an interest in fitness too, just working out in general. I like to do outdoor things. I like to I just don't like to be cooped up in one place and sitting down on my ass all day,
Sure. What
So
goes
keep it as
into
active as I can.
Yeah, man. What goes into airplane mechanic, by the way? Because you say something like that, and I'm like, damn, that sounds like an important job to say the least. Like, what made you want to take that on?
It's you got to learn a lot. You really have to learn a lot, and you have to be like, the most important thing is being meticulous. Airplane travels, they say, is the safest travel, and that's because they inspect the plane before and after every flight and takeoff, whatever. You got to document everything you do, and every little thing, it has to be done meticulously. So if you're not somebody that can like focus on what you're doing, and you're ready to screw up at any time, you shouldn't be doing it.
It seems like there's some parallels there with fighting, right? Like, if you're not dialed in inside the cage, man, that 1 second that you're not focusing could be the second that you get clipped.
Right. Actually, that's actually hand in hand with the schooling for me, because I wanted to do something big before I went back to school, whether it was taking a trip somewhere or whatever, and I decided on having my first fight, and just getting and doing this fight hard for it every day, really focus on it, is kind of helping me get that confidence to go back and finish in school, really zone in and focus on it. So like I said, it goes hand in hand for me. But this is kind of who I am right now, coming to life, physically.
It's really cool to hear, and I've heard, a similar story with different details, obviously, from a lot of fighters in the past, that MMA is not only, a career path or maybe just something they can do for more of a hobby type thing, but the sense of direction and purpose that it gives them kind of oozes out into other aspects of their life. So it's really interesting to hear that that's happening for you too, and it's cool, man. I mean, people look at MMA, and I think this is a lot less than it used to be, but people used to see it as this, savage caveman, human cockfighting thing. And people are slowly understanding that there's a little more to the sport than that. It's a little more cerebral and can actually really benefit people's lives.
Definitely. The more popular as MMA has gotten, the more science gets put behind it too. The more people begin to actually turn this into a real full-on contact sport rather than just some cage fighting. I'm sure before people would have looked at me like I was an idiot or something, but everybody I know now is like interested in the fact that I'm jumping up and doing this, and I'm actually, they're like, wow, that's pretty badass and shit. That's really cool you're doing this, and it feels nice to finally get a little bit of recognition. That just a little bit of respect. Kind of where I want to be.
Absolutely. I mean, I've definitely noticed that. That was something that I wanted to ask you about, was kind of when you posted the fight announcement to your Facebook, man, you had a lot of people saying like, I'm there, like, holy crap, so cool. You had a lot of engagement, a lot of attention on that. What did that feel like for you? You post that and then all this support just comes flowing out. What was that like for you?
Man, that is probably one of the best feelings I've had in a while. Honestly, my day was pretty much made for the rest of it. I had a lot of people saying that before, but I kept telling them, wait for the fight poster. You'll see. I'll give out more details then. The second I saw the announcement on Instagram, welterweight showdown, I said, oh, I jumped up. I scared my coworker at work, because of how excited I looked. Yeah, it really boosts a lot into me, because I kind of always like the glory aspect of MMA too. At the end of the day, you still feel like an actual gladiator or something going in this cage and fighting. So I love it. I love, not that I want to be a center of attention, but I love feeling that. I love feeling the respect you get, and the people getting to watch me do something that really describes who I am. Like I said, you're physically kind of looking at a piece of me coming out. This is pretty much who I see myself as.
And one thing I want to point out for people who maybe aren't watching the video but are just listening to the audio version of the podcast, there's a heavy bag hanging behind you right now inside the house. So that's pretty legit, man. Like, if you got the heavy bag in the house, like at arm's length, like, you're pretty serious.
I've been even before I started up MMA again officially, I had the bag, and I was doing stuff on my own, just because, like I said, it's been an interest. It's been something I wanted to but you really can't sharpen your skills until you actually get to an MMA gym and actually start training. So, here I am.
Very
finally
true,
doing what I
man.
wanted to do.
Yeah, dude, we're crazy excited for this fight and the event in general. There's the title fight with Ethan Goss and Tobias Taylor, and the main event, co-main event with Justin Patton and Rico Talley. Like, there may or may not be. Here's some breaking news for people. May or may not be another pro fight about to get added to that card. So the card is stacking up like crazy. The amateur card is all hot fire matchups, man. Like I said, your fight against Deven, I see that as a potential fight of the night, but there are about 3 other amateur fights that we've worked with the fighters before, and I know what they bring to the table. And then we signed opponents kind of like you that are either debuts or have never fought for us before. But everything I hear and see indicates that they're up for the challenge, and like those fights could easily turn into crazy wars too. So you like the atmosphere at Brawl in the Burgh 11. We're going to make sure it's that good or better coming back for you guys on October 1st, man. So we're excited to have you, and we'll see you there in Monroeville, man.
For sure. I'm going to do my best to make sure that I can entertain while doing my job. I'll apologize ahead of time if it's not what it's cracked up to be, but I don't want to come into this with some game plan or, I'm not trying for anything specific. I'm trying to win, if it comes naturally, it comes naturally. I'm doing what I got to do. Let's just, I'll try not to make it a decision. I'll try,
You already said you're a huge GSP fan, so I expect boring fights now out of you. I had to get the dig in. I've never been a GSP guy for whatever reason. I just told you I picked Bisbing to beat him like a dumbass, but
it honestly kind of goes more into that too. I understand exactly what you mean. I really do. Just kind of how GSP carried himself. You look at his story. Not that I relate, but there's a lot I inspire from him. Hell, I even have a shirt with GSP on it. So, he's been just a big inspiration. Other fighters too. For a while I like Conor McGregor, and now I don't know what the hell he's doing. I really like Charles Oliveira. He's been a favorite. Fedor Emelianenko was always one of my top favorites, and I think he's so underrated still to this day. People kind of they look at the old fighters and they kind of forget about them, but they don't realize these guys were monsters in their prime.
Yeah, you're dead on. Like, Fedor is a guy that it feels weird defending him and how great he was, because there was a period of time in like 2009, 10, kind of when the UFC was huge and they were talking about like Fedor versus Brock Lesnar and things like that. But Fedor kind of did himself a disservice, I think, by going to Bellator at the end of his career and then losing a couple fights, because that's when people actually saw him fight. So it's hard when that's what people have seen to convince them, like, dude, you had to see him back in his prime. Like, you had to be there. And that's kind of the same thing for Anderson Silva. Like, newer fans of the sport that maybe came in with Conor McGregor missed Anderson at his absolute best, which was just an entirely different story. So people always see like the tail end of somebody's career when they're in their 40s, and it's like, man, that's not who it was. Like, you just missed it.
Right. That's absolutely true. And that's one of the good things McGregor did, was he really made, MMA kind of what it was now. But that's true. You look at who Anderson Silva was, you looked at what he's done to people. I always like to think the Lyoto Machida kick, front kick, that was so amazing to watch.
Mm-hmm.
People don't really understand that anymore, because it's the casual side of it. They look at what it is now and they kind of focus more on that. But if you're a real fan, you really look back. You look at the old fights. You look at amateur fights besides UFC. You look at Bellator. You look at ONE, PFL, even your local MMA matches. Like 24 Fighting Championship here, 24/7. So this is where it's at. If really
absolutely, man.
You gotta check out.
Very true. Well, maybe someday we'll be looking back at your fight against Deven Zendarski and saying, this is where it all started for Falco Teti, man. We're excited to be a part of the journey.
I'm honestly happy to have you guys here. I'm happy for everybody that's here supporting me, and I'm happy that I get to have a pretty decent, scary-looking opponent. Zendarski doesn't look like a walk in the park. So I expect something good from this.
Heck yeah, man. So do we. We're stoked for October 1st inside the Monroeville Convention Center for everybody. It's a Saturday, Falco and Deven. Like I said, I just talked about some of the other matchups. This fight card is stacked from top to bottom. So we will see you all there. And Falco, take care, man. Keep your weight on point, and we'll see you Friday for weigh-ins.
Absolutely. I'll see you guys Friday. And like I said, excited for this. I'm ready for this. So can't wait to see you guys there.
All right, man. Same to you, dude. Take care.
All right.